Now we have several bedding areas in here behind Dylan. You have about a acre that I cut down. There's about a half acre above that, quarter acre off to the side. And this is about a 2 acre cutting that I created, not last year, but the year before that, that extends up to a point where I've cut, and then Joel's cut a lot up there. And this is the integral part of bedding area. I wanted to talk about deer bedding. And Dylan, you had some good footage of Joel cutting this year, right? But anyways, we've spent years cutting out here, and this bedding area is important because it's more in the core area of our property. Just shot a video up here, the beaver stand, and it's approximately 250 yards away from food. You get in this top hollow. Now we have light food sources and cover around our house. We used to have big food up there, 3.5 acres of corn. We got rid of it all. We have 3 small clover plots, totaling about a quarter acre on the sides of that area, and then it's all switchgrass, pollinator, diversity pockets. And then we've cut along that edge so that this edge keeps forever encroaching out. We gained about 20 yards of that field. In fact, that lower level of switchgrass that total about 1.5 acres, we're letting go back to aspen. And so there's a lot of aspen in there, 6-7 feet tall, and keeps growing. That's another area of this bedding area. So we're trying to fill in this whole hollow. So we get back into this core area. This is exactly where bucks come out. They come out of this area. And I wanted to show you guys, you know, yeah, this is important for how it relates to the entire property in the bedding area around here. And Dylan, I probably should have wore boots. Or you have tennis shoes on too? No, I'm good. But I wanted to show you guys what this bedding area actually looks like here during the summertime. And shouldn't run into any of our rattlesnakes in here, but these cuttings down here, and you can see some of the aspen, the quaking aspen growth. This aspen is, big tooth aspen. That big tooth aspen is what, 16 feet tall at least? And that's about 2 summers of growth. You see all the briars in here? This is what a lot of our bedding areas look like. And what's really cool about this right now, it's not even a discernible trail through here, but in these briars, those deer just slide right through here, even bucks with antlers. They're not going to live down here during the summertime, and you can see why. Mature buck comes in here, he's going to take his rack, get it mixed up into all these briars and brush, and it'll rip his velvet, and there's a pain associated with that. So he stays well away from this. Not to mention, when you have a good summer bedding area, not only do you have all this thick cover, what else do you have? You have sunlight. So when you have sunlight coming in, yeah, it's hot, buggy, it's thick. Deer don't want to be down here. We don't want to be down here too much. And that's what makes it a great fall bedding area. Mature bucks, especially does and fawns, they'll slide in here and have a fawn. That's great fawning cover. High stem count cover. This is high stem count. Thousands of shoots per acre. And especially with that big tooth aspen, briars, the higher the stem count per acre for fawns, that's great. But fawns, does and fawns want to be next to a food source. So this is 200 yards away from any food source. And that means that we could put a camera down here, and some of our best fall bedding areas would hardly have a deer on it all summer long. Because there's no food, then there's no does and fawns. If it's too thick for summer, then there's no mature bucks. And someone asked me what one of our summer bedding areas looks like in the summertime. It's going to be thick, nasty, sunny, and buggy. But another important component is that we don't have mature bucks on it or anywhere near this at all during the summer months. And so that leads me to the next thing. Yeah, you can look at these summer bedding areas, what they look like. I can tell you why it's here. It's in a core area, well away from food. It's slanted more towards mature bucks. We cut a lot of the aspen. You can see that's big clear cut right there. Full sunlight then. This is tipped towards the southerly sky. So middle of the day, we get lots of sunlight. I can tell you all those ingredients. But one thing that's the most important is you have to understand on your property why you even attract bucks in the first place. This is in that depth area. We could have poor bedding down here, no cutting at all. We're going to get some mature bucks to bed down here because it's 200 to 250 yards away from the nearest diverse holding food plot during the fall. That's the location where those deer are going to layer. We're going to have does and fawns closer to the food. Once we get back in this depth right here, and that's common in most ag areas. Most ag areas you're going to have anywhere from at the most 300 yards, mixed ag area where a buck will travel. And if you're in heavy ag areas, maybe he travels 100 yards every day because there's no cover. But where you have 50% cover, 60% cover, he's probably going to travel 250, 300 yards on a daily basis. And so you have to establish that depth. So that depth of cover is critical. That's what a lot of people miss, because people look at it like, well, we have a great bedding area we built this particular bedding area. There's people even online that'll say, if you build this bedding area this way, these secrets, you're going to get a mature buck to bed there no matter what the design looks like. Dylan, do you run into that much anymore? Because I know that's those opinions are fading, but there used to be, if we build a buck bedding area a certain way, we'd attract bucks to it.
Once in a while I'll talk to a client that I feel like has kind of gone down that rabbit hole, but I mean, I don't really watch a lot of other channel content, so maybe it's still out there. I just don't run across it.
No, it'd be more our clients. I used to run into that a lot more. You know, I put all the ingredients into this spot for a buck bed, and but they're not bedding here. Well, one, bucks take what's left over. So if you have doe bedding adjacent to holding food and quality food, does and fawns are going to bed there no matter what kind of bed you make. There's even someone out there teaching, well, you make bigger bedding areas to hold does and fawns, smaller singular for bucks. It doesn't work that way. If it's in a doe bedding area, and I can tell you, I can say this, I'm not even say names, but I was threatened by lawsuit along with the QDMA, state chapter president of the QDMA at one time, for if I talked about secrets of a buck bedding area, that I'd get sued, even though I'd never been exposed to those secrets, anything. So we ended up having the Habitat Day anyways. And what I did is I just said, well, how about this? How about we, I'll just say that there's someone that believes in secrets out there. And if you want to hear those secrets, you contact them, because I look at bucks bed by proximity to food and depth. No matter what kind of bed you make, food's here, does, fawns here, young bucks, old bucks. If you don't have that depth, it doesn't matter what that bedding area looks like in the fall, what it looks like during the summer, those bucks are not going to be there. We even videotaped that event back in, I think that was 2010, maybe 11. And we videotaped the event, and there was a right-hand man in the audience. I said, if you want to learn about those secrets, I don't believe in them. That's not how bucks bed in the wild. They're food, does, fawns, young bucks, old bucks. But his right-hand man is sitting right down there. You can go talk to him during the event. And if you want to hear those secrets, then you can contact them, maybe even hire them and have them come to your property. And I had no problem doing that because I don't believe in it in any way. And so that kind of thwarted the lawsuit, and that was the agreement going into it. It's ridiculous, some of this stuff. That's why I've always figured the more information that I give out, the more fun I have in doing what we do. Dylan, would you agree?
Oh yeah.
The more we share.
200 videos a year, all free content. Now granted, you do have web classes for some of the deeper dives with organization and all that.
Books out there, and but they never have to spend a dime.
Right.
So there's no secrets. I found the more information I can give. And so I'm like a kid in a candy store, and I'm out on a property. You know, for some people, my buddy Colin, really close friend, the way he learns is someone teaches him something, he has to write it down. So when he writes it down, that helps him remember. And by the third or fourth day, he has it down. He doesn't have to ever look at his notes. For me, taking notes is I have blog thoughts in I have thousands of notes I've taken on just one-liners, bullet points in my phone, and I've transferred that from phone to phone. I started that maybe 11, 12 years ago. It's been a long time, a lot longer than that actually. But I started that a long time ago, and I'll have those notes. That helps me, and then making videos on it, and then actual writing articles back in the day, that helps me remember. But I get excited when I'm out on a property. I'm like, man, that makes sense. I've seen this happen in all these different areas. And when it comes to buck bedding and doe bedding, I figured that out decades ago, that there's that layering effect. And you have to have those layers. Yeah, this is a quality bedding area. I want to maximize this bedding area space because we own the land, and I want to do my best with the land. Also, this thick cover helps rabbits, grouse. We get tons of grouse out here. So there's a lot of other reasons for cutting it. but it's in the right location. So even if we did nothing down here, because we have that depth established, we're not walking through this, we're not driving through it, we're not putting a food plot down here, we're not putting a cabin down here, we don't have a parking area down here, we don't hunt in the middle of that, then that depth is intact and we actually hold mature bucks on the land because of that depth. So always remember that when it comes to creating a great buck bed, there's no secret. The concept that we'll teach, no secrets, tell you everything I know, and that I've discovered out in the wild, is that if you establish that depth and you don't break up that depth with your intrusion, food intrusion, neighborly intrusion, then you'll start to hold mature bucks, and then it's just a matter of picking the right stands, not applying too much pressure to blow this entire thing out. You know, it's interesting, the food source that supports this. That buck could be bedding anywhere in here, probably a 15, 20 acre area, multiple bucks. If you blow out the food source that supports this area, that's the beginning of the establishment of that depth. You have the food, does and fawns, young bucks. But if you blow that food out, you put a blind right in the middle of it, you spook those deer out every time you come in and hunt, guess what? They're not in any of these bedding areas, because then there's no depth, because depth relates to hunting pressure too. So I hope that makes some sense of some bedding areas. Hope I'm not divulging any of your secrets out there that'll get me sued or something, but bottom line is this stuff is a lot of fun. It doesn't mean to be that kind of stuff even in the conversation, and we enjoy doing this. We enjoy sharing it with you, and most of all, I hope it helps you out and helps you understand buck bedding and how to build your land or even find it. You know, you can just go find this stuff on public land for your own hunts this fall.